Okay, today is August 18th. Jump back in my truck here. It is super windy out there today, so I didn't think you guys were going to be able to hear me. So here's what happened today down at the old Buoy 10 Super Bowl salmon fishing. We had one wild fish. Well, there's good news and bad news. The good news is that we landed fish. The bad news is that we didn't get any that we could keep. We broke off a few, actually, like way up, like where their teeth were rubbing on the spinner. That's the one problem with running soft spinners, is that there's no wire to protect from their teeth. Sometimes it will just chafe through during a fight, especially when you're trying to force them around a little bit in the heavy crowds. There are going to be a few tournaments going on this weekend. I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll talk about this weekend in just a second. So we lost a few, missed a few, all that fun stuff. There's plenty of fish. Man, there were literally thousands upon thousands of fish in the estuary. And for the amount of fish that we saw, there should have been way, way, way more fish caught. And what I've noticed looking at that active target is that when I get groups of like 10 fish or more come through, because they'll come through in a group of 50 or 100 fish, it's pretty incredible to watch. But when that happens, they won't bite. They won't turn. I've throttled into them. I've sped up, slowed down, turned into them. You basically just corral them like cattle. You can do circles. Get them spinning in a circle. It's pretty funny. All the other boats are looking at me like, what the heck's that guy doing? Because I'm just driving around in circles trying to turn into these fish. And all I'm doing is just turning them into like a little salmon tornado. It's pretty incredible to watch. But yeah, it was a weird day. There were some guys who just straight up slaughtered them, just hammered them. And there were other guys that really struggled and they had a hard time getting bit. I messed around with bumper length, leader length. I was going from 18-inch to 30-inch bumpers. I was going from 20-inch leaders to 32-inch leaders and everything in between. And guess what? Every single variation got bit. So there's that. Very helpful, right? I tried spin fish for a while. It's only like 5 minutes. I probably should have gave that a lot more time, but it goes back to what I've talked about in the last couple updates. I'm literally looking at several hundred boats with 3-4 rods per boat. There are literally 1,000 lures and baits and colors and different variations of depths and everything else. And if you see one net for 200 boats, it's probably not what you're using or probably not what depth you're at. The fish just are not ready to chew. But some guys just, I don't know, right place, right time, right fish, or if they truly did have something figured out, whether they knew it or not, doesn't matter. There were some guys who just straight up stroked them today. We had a couple buddies, Nick Fernandez and Josiah Dar, that just those two boys put on a clinic today. They had something going, and we talked to them. They're like, oh yeah, these are bumper lengths, these are leader lengths, and this is what color we're using, and everything else. And yeah, doing it. Yep, same thing. Okay, well, they had something else figured out. That good for them. And again, whether they knew it or not, who cares? They had a great day. So what are we going to do this weekend? Coming into the weekend here to get you guys all set up. It is falling tides right now. The fish will be starting to stage up. There are, like I said, thousands of fish in the estuary. A couple of coho were caught, so hopefully a few more of those will show up. And as the tides begin to fall, the fish will try and transition between saltwater and freshwater. And that's where we're looking for that break in the current, because the salt water is denser, it's colder, so it's going to be lower in the water column than the river water, especially with this outgoing tide in the mornings on Saturday and Sunday. So we're going to be fishing probably closer to the bottom on the outgo, but we're looking for that fuzz line in our electronics to determine exactly where that change in the water temperature and salinity is taking place. And that's where I tend to try and keep my gear, because that's where I mark most of the fish. I say it all the time, trust your electronics. Wherever you see the fish swimming, it's probably where you should be in the water column. On the outgoing tide, you'll see them within 10 feet of the bottom. As the tide starts to come in, it comes in underneath first, and you'll see the fish lift off the bottom, and you just follow them up the water column. That being said, a few days ago, we were catching fish on the bottom on the incoming tide as well. So again, wherever you see them on your graph is probably where in the water column you should be. You got to have your gear in front of the fish. It doesn't matter what you use, what color, what bait, what scent. If you are not in front of them, they're not going to bite, because they don't know that you're there. There was a time today where I kept seeing fish going through on the active target. I'm like, man, we're missing them. And I didn't see them on my 2D sonars. So I'm starting to learn that when they're brighter yellow, the way I got mine set up, that they're shallower, they're closer to the surface. And so I started bringing my gear up from 40-50 on the counters all the way up to 15-20. And all of a sudden the fish started reacting to it and seeing it and turning into it. Now, they didn't bite very often, but at least I got them to turn and look. I'll take that. It's a numbers game. So, what am I going to do this weekend? I don't know. I was on one heck of a heater, probably one of the best stretches of catching for me, at least compared to the other guides in our camp, and I was doing really, really well. And now these last 2 days have really messed with my head, and I am fishing 4 rods tomorrow. I wish it was 6 so I can mess around with more colors and baits and scents, but I got 4, so 4 is what I'm going to use. Ugh, I got to get out of my own head. So what I put on for tomorrow are 2 18-inch bumpers, 2 30-inch bumpers, and both of them all 4 with 30-inch leaders. Mexican hat's still been really good, but today painted blades did just as well, if not better, than Mexican hat. So I got 2 painted blades and I got 2 Mexican hats, and we're gonna let the fish decide. And there we go. But honestly, fishing should be pretty good this weekend. The tides are falling, they're getting smaller. That outgoing tide won't be pulling as hard. We won't be trolling at 7 miles an hour going downstream. And so we should be able to get a bit better. The fish should be a bit more responsive to the gear. Instead of it just ripping right by them, they should react and bite pretty well. Fingers crossed, they're there. It's just a matter of getting them to eat. And wow, was that frustrating watching. And I'm not exaggerating. 1,000 fish swim underneath the boat and only maybe get 8-10 bites. Yeah, there's got to be a way. There has to be a way to get those fish to change their mind and want to come play tug of war. But every day is a learning curve. Today was one of those, and hopefully tomorrow I can learn some more and try and figure them out a little bit better. Oh boy. Okay, time to go back. We got family dinner back at camp. I'm really looking forward to that. The wives are taking care of us like they always do. They got us a bunch of nice steaks and some good wine. We're going to kick back, relax, go to bed early because today was a late start. Tomorrow the tides will start to flip, so we're going to get up and start pretty close to daylight. Okay, time to go home, go shower, and eat a nice steak dinner. See you guys tomorrow. Later.